In 2021, a Chinese space company made the world déjà vu by revealing a funny rendering of a suborbital rocket for space tourism. However, everything will not be worth noting if the Chinese project is just a messy clone version of the SpaceX Dragon, Falcon, and Starship. For many years, to make progress, the Beijing government has applied thoroughly the copycat strategy, and the object they are targeting is Elon Musk's SpaceX company. More importantly, their plan seems to work. So is this problem really serious? How did Elon Musk react to this? Can China succeed with this approach in the long run? And SpaceX announced its idea of space tourism. Its influence has spread to the world and inspired one of its competitors, China. Most recently in May, the Long March 2D booster successfully delivered the Beijing 3C satellite constellation into a predetermined orbit at the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center, and the launch mission was completely successful. What's interesting is that this rocket is equipped with a grid-shaped rudder landing area control system that looks exactly like the grid fins of the SpaceX Starship. Moreover, in August 2021, CAS Space, a commercial spin-off from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, CAS unveiled a rocket project under development for commercial satellite launches. The rocket would be used to send people up into space, albeit briefly. According to the press release, CAS Space is working on a single-stage reusable rocket that would take as many as 7 passengers on a 10-minute ride up above at 100 kilometers, which is generally held to be the boundary between Earth's atmosphere and outer space. It's named ZK-6, 515 meters diameter, 3.35 meters with 4 windows. ZK-6 is powered by 515TX Y1 engines. It can be reused more than 30 times. The illustrations of the CAS space project show that the capsule atop quite remarkably resembles SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule, but looks more humorous. Additionally, the rocket shares similarities with the SpaceX Falcon rocket in using 5 kerosene liquid oxygen engines and even grid fins near the top of the rocket. One more interesting tidbit: instead of landing legs, the rocket would be caught by a block of structure following a Mechazilla concept for SpaceX's massive Starship Super Heavy rocket. The Crew capsule will meanwhile descend to Earth with the aid of 3 parachutes. Inspired by SpaceX products, the Long March rocket or the CAS space project are the typical cases among several space projects that have mushroomed in China and are working to catch up. Chinese goal is also to cut launch costs and make space flights more affordable. Consequently, by using this shortcut, they have reached significant success. Last December, Beijing-based Land Space Technology beat SpaceX, the top-notch space firm, to become the world's first company to launch a methane liquid oxygen rocket. Landspace's Zhuke 2Y3 carrier rocket blasted off from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China and sent 3 satellites, Hanhu 2, and TY33, into planned orbit. The rocket was 49.5 meters in length, had a diameter of 3.35 meters, and had a liftoff mass of 220 tons, excluding the payloads. In the same year, Wang Xiaojun, president of the nation's Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology, gave a presentation showing off a concept for a 2-stage methane liquid launch system that looked suspiciously familiar. Clearly, the images used in the slides bear a striking resemblance to SpaceX's Starship spacecraft. In 2020, China even completed a test flight of a new spacecraft that resembles the Crew Dragon. The spacecraft launched atop a Long March 5B, China's most powerful rocket. The trial, which was similar to the initial flight test of Orion that NASA completed in late 2014, was heralded as a success. All of those efforts aim to help China towards the goal of becoming a world-leading space power by 2045 and using innovation in space. Witnessing the fact that SpaceX's intellectual property was blatantly stolen, Elon Musk may be just smiling. It seemed like he could predict that would happen because we have essentially no patents in SpaceX, Musk said in a 2017 interview. In 2022, he again reiterated this claim, saying, "We don't really patent. Our primary long-term competition is China. If we published patents, it would be farcical, because the Chinese would just use them as a recipe book." Although SpaceX prefers trade secrets for its core technology for this very reason, this doesn't mean the company forgoes patents altogether. Currently, SpaceX has a total of 143 patents globally, out of which 51 have been granted. Of these 143 patents, more than 83% patents are active. Knowing SpaceX tends not to patent its core technologies, what types of inventions is the company protecting with its patents? The majority of the company's patents are related to the Starlink project. You can see this clearly through the graph, with 3 items placed at the top, including antennas, radio transmitters, and digital transmission. All of them belong to the Starlink project. Interestingly, trade secrets offer greater protection than patents. This is because trade secrets are protected in the U.S. under the Economic Espionage Act of 1996. Anyone found guilty of leaking trade secrets can face serious jail time and hefty fines. When implemented properly, trade secrets are the ultimate intellectual property blocking tool. It's the reason why, as we can see, the field that China imitates from SpaceX the most is rocket, not satellite. However, being a good copyist may only be a short-term strategy for China, because while they can copy rocket designs, they may not be able to keep up with SpaceX's crazy pace of manufacturing and innovation. On the Quora social network, there is an interesting question as follows. If Russia or China acquired the complete blueprints of the SpaceX Starship, how long would it take them to produce a near copy? One comment said, the blueprints might allow them to make a reasonable copy of the hardware. Stalin mandated a carbon copy of the impounded B-29 in 1944 and received his airplane in 1947. I would not expect a Russian or Chinese mechanical copy of a Starship in less time. But then there is the software required to launch, control, and particularly land the metal, as well as the algorithms and logic within the software. The other supposed, I would argue that even with the modern equivalent of the blueprints, CAD files, you are missing a tremendous amount of information. Today you are buying a lot of things from sub-suppliers, which have their own machinery to manufacture parts to the specific standards. So you need to copy their work and methods as well. And on top of that, there is a lot of electronics and computer code, and all of these manufacturing methods and the code will need to be developed in-house if you only get the mechanical design. On top of the major considerations that both answers mention, there is the question of what production rate you are aiming at. Another user commented, a single Starship would be useless. You'd need to build a Starship factory and Raptor factory and thermal tile factory, but what production rate do you want? Because Starship is still under development, the current designs are not enough to allow changes and improvements. You'd need all the calculations behind all the design decisions, for example, of materials and dimensions. The integration tower and orbital launch mount are also complicated and still in development, but essential. For that reason, to usurp SpaceX's monopoly position, China needs more than that. Instead of sitting down, not doing any R&D of their own, and just copying everything that America does, China is doubling down on basic R&D and is determined to race ahead of America in basically every technology. That's not something you can do by copying. In response, America is also doubling down in basic research and putting it into reality with the support of powerful private firms like SpaceX to not let China overtake them. Nevertheless, SpaceX and American scientists cannot change the world on their own. Beyond that, we can't help but mention the role of government. Political scandals involving billions of dollars in wasted contracts by Boeing and ULA have raised major doubts about the transparency of national space projects. This is truly a big elephant in the room. So do you think China can grow to become the new world's leading space power with the short-term and long-term strategies that they are pursuing? Let me know.